Back tonight, you're in focus. The National Union of Mineworkers in the highveld region says Eskom surpassing the energy availability factor by 70%. This is, of course, they say, as a result of its members' hard work and not some miracle or management. The union says the power utility must focus more on corruption by certain service providers and called for harsher punishment for those who looted the company and continue to do so without repercussions. NUM Highveld Regional Chairperson Bizzah Motubatse joins us now for more. Bizzah, good to have you and thank you very much for coming on. Now, previously, of course, we would have had this conversation and management would have told us, and maybe even experts would have told us, well, the reason why we are having load shedding, 1, is poor management, 2, corruption, 3, sabotage, and 4 is not something that could be solved in a short period of time. We've seen a short turnaround, even though the minister would say it's work that could have started maybe a little bit prior to this time. And we've stopped hearing of reports of sabotage. Could that be the issue that would have resolved this?
Well, there is no scientific evidence that was brought into the media as well that is related to sabotage. So the issue of sabotage, as the National Union of Mineworkers, we have always been saying that bring evidence that talks to sabotage. Up to so far, we don't remember being given evidence that talks to sabotage that might have led to load shedding, stage 6, and so forth. So the issue of sabotage, as the NUM, it's not something that we believe that it was or it is existing.
So, I mean, previously we would have heard that workers, unions in particular, would have been somewhat of an obstacle and a contributing factor towards the lackluster performance of Eskom. What has changed?
What has changed? In fact, the president did a very good job by appointing Minister of Electricity, because this minister, you would have seen that he was moving to, or rather visiting power stations, and he was talking to workers. And he understood the challenges that workers were confronted with. And he has made some promises. You would have seen our statement. We have said that he made some promises that he implemented. One of them, it was the issue of performance bonus. For a very long time, Eskom employees, they were no longer getting bonuses. So minister reintroduced the performance bonus. And this is something that, of course, made our members, of course, to start realizing that they are being valued. You will agree with me, Thabo, that if you work in a condition or a situation whereby you think or believe that you are not being valued, you will obviously be demoralized. So Eskom employees, in the majority, members of the NUM, felt that they are being valued, and they realized that indeed it was a positive outcome that made them to make sure that load shedding is defeated.
And so, would you say then the minister also gave hope, I suppose, to the workers around this question of the new transition? Because that was seen as one of the things that really got workers uneasy about their future at Eskom. Yes,
I remember when he addressed our policy conference in June, Minister of Electricity. He has indicated that the closure of Komat in particular, that process, justice was never done. He has made a promise and a commitment that, because you will know that Hendrina was the second station to follow together with Camden. So he made a commitment to say that the speed that were being or the speed that government is moving with, it must be reduced, because if government is not careful, it will find itself without power stations. And of course, like we've indicated, that these old power stations, they're equally assisting a lot. So he made promises to employees that government will have to probably reduce the speed, because it is not assisting at all.
Now, you've mentioned, of course, in your statement, certain service providers that Eskom needs to focus on and punish them harshly. Are these service providers still benefiting from contracts at Eskom?
Yes, they are. What is us is that you'll find that Eskom as a forensic department has investigated with evidence that points to a particular service provider. Instead of that particular service provider being blacklisted, you will still continue to do business with Eskom as if everything is normal. So we are saying that once it is found that this service provider is doing corruption, rather committing corruption in Eskom, it must be blacklisted because it can't be business as usual. That we have found that this service provider is corrupt, but still they are getting tenders from Eskom. We are saying that they must be blacklisted, and those who are in cahoots with the service provider in question, they must face punishment, including the directors of the service provider in question.
Yeah. And are you saying the board, the CEO, the executive are not aware of this?
We are not so sure because we can't be conclusive that they aren't. But we remember when there is a forensic investigation, in most cases the CEO will know that this is an investigation that has happened, and of course get the report and the recommendation. But we cannot solely say that the CEO must take responsibility. There are general managers who are also in charge of the power stations. They need to act because also when the recommendation or the report with recommendation comes, they are also aware of that particular report. So we are calling for them to act with swiftness, because we don't want a situation whereby you'll find that this service provider it has been found that is doing corruption, but is still getting tenders. It really cannot. So we are calling for management, including the CEO himself, that they must act they must act against those service providers and those who are in cahoots with the service providers, because we know that there are those who are in cahoots with these service providers. These service providers, they don't just commit corruption in a vacuum. They are working with some people, and we are saying those who are working with these service providers, they must also be dealt with harshly.
So one of the things that the 7th administration, or the government of national unity, if you like, is going to move with speed on as part of the broader turnaround is the splitting of Eskom into 3 entities. We already are seeing some legal processes that are in place aligned to that particular splitting. What's the view of the union on that split?
Well, it is a waste of time. It is a waste of resources. We don't support that. We really don't think that separating Eskom, having a transmission, generation, and distribution as a standalone become a panacea to the challenges that we are confronted with. That is why currently, then when we've taken Eskom to the CCMA, because we believe that consultation was never done properly. So we believe that we've got a case, and where the CCMA challenging this decision of Eskom. And we know that it is a decision that comes from government, and Eskom was expected to implement. But then we have members here. We don't lead cows, we lead members, whereby when you want to implement changes, you need to consult us and you need to hear the side of our story. So we reject that with contempt, with deservers. Then we're saying this separation, it's a waste of time and it's a waste of resources. Let's focus on real issues. The real issues at Eskom is corruption. Let's focus on corruption.
So the question on many South Africans, of course, of interest is, can this energy availability factor of 70%, maybe even more, be maintained in the long term? I mean, we've literally gone through winter, something that previously we were not going to talk about. Yes, there's load reduction, which has got to do with infrastructure, but by and large, we have not seen load shedding.
Yes, we believe that Eskom is on the right track, because we'll give you examples. You look at Kusile, it's performing. You look at Kendal, it's performing. You look at a power station in Tutuka is also performing. You will remember, Tav, at some point when we had this interview with yourself, we said that if you can have Kendal, if you can have Matla, if you can have Tutuka, if you can have Kusile, if you can have Majuba, if you can have Midupi, you will not have load shedding, because these are the power stations that gives you enough electricity. So we have seen now that these power stations that are performing well, the issue is just to maintain the performance. And our members, we can tell you, they are very happy. They are very happy because they are now, like we've indicated, getting this performance bonuses rather. So they are very happy, and we believe that based on their happiness, they'll then be able to maintain the status quo. You are correct. We're in August now, and we've never seen load shedding during this winter. So obviously, towards December, which is summer, Eskom will now then be doing maintenance on its units, because around October, November, December, and January, that is where the Eskom do maintenance, so that come winter, the machines are ready to be operated.
Bizzah Motubatse, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. The chairperson of NUM in the Highveld region there, responding to the latest performance, good performance, must we add, of the Eskom fleet.